Hello everyone, welcome to today's session. My name is Pallavi Nithyanandan. I serve as the Director for the Compendial Operations and Standard Staff in the Office of Policy for Pharmaceutical Quality in CDER FDA. Today I'll be talking about FDA's participation in the USP-NF standards revision process, speak about some specific challenges FDA faces in commenting on the USP standards, and also discuss some potential solutions. I will begin by providing an overview of FDA-USP interactions, cover the importance of USP-NF public standards, and speak about two main mechanisms by which FDA interacts with USP, which are the Government Liaison Program and the FDA's active process in the review and comment of proposals published in USP Pharmacopeial Forum. Then I will touch upon the important role industry plays in this process and will take questions at the end of all the presentations for the session. The Compendial Operations and Standard Staff located in OPPQ CDER is primarily responsible for coordinating interactions between FDA and USP. And in addition to the commenting on PF and the Government Liaison Program, there are multiple email interactions, both pre and post PF. We respond to inquiries received from USP. There are periodic meetings on broad impact policy issues as needed, and there are interactions at the leadership level too, and we have quarterly meetings between the two organizations. And FDA also plays a role in the USP convention. FDA has 5 voting delegates to the convention, and we submit resolution proposals as well. And in the last cycle, we have also served on the Council of the Convention and the nominating committee, and continue to do so in this 5-year cycle as well. We also participate in pharmacopeal harmonization activities through the Pharmacopeal Discussion Group. Standards play an important role in the drug assessment process, and a well-developed pharmaceutical quality standard helps make better science-based decisions. And USP-NF standards are particularly important because of their inclusion in the Federal Food, Drug and Cosmetic Act. Section 201 of the Act defines USP and NF as the official compendium of the United States. USP and NF monographs provide official standards for strength, quality, purity, identity, packaging, and labeling, and can be used by the agency to support charges of adulteration per Section 501B and/or misbranding per Sections 502G and 502E. For practical purposes, what this means is that if there is a drug substance, drug product, or excipient that has an official USP monograph, and there are any differences from the strength, quality, or purity from the monograph standard, then the difference needs to be plainly stated on the label. Section 502 talks about the established name, which is typically the title of the monograph. So the misbranding provisions may be applied if it is a product is not using the correct established name, which is, as I mentioned, the title of the USP monograph, and it is not packaged and labeled as prescribed in the monograph. Now we will move on to see in detail a few of the main mechanisms in which FDA interacts with USP, one of which is the Government Liaison Program, through which FDA subject matter experts can participate on the USP standards development expert committees, panels, subcommittees, etc. that develop the monograph and general chapter standards. These subject matter experts serving in the government liaison role come from various FDA centers, OII, as well as the Commissioner's Office, and they serve on the groups which are relevant for their centers and offices. In the recently concluded 5-year USP cycle, 130 plus CDER staff served in this role. Their main responsibility is to provide input on behalf of FDA to enable alignment between FDA's thinking and USP standards which are in development. We hope that this will provide clarity for stakeholders. Also, they bring back information to be shared within FDA as needed to develop feedback on various proposals, and recruitment training, coordination of pre-meetings, and advice on policy and technical issues is coordinated by COSS within FDA. Now we will move on to take a look at FDA's participation in the review and comment of Pharmacopeal Forum proposals. The basic process for at FDA to review the USP Pharmacopeal Forum standards is to perform a triage of the standard and determine if a review can be performed within COSS, or we need to route it to various experts within the center or with agencies, with other centers in the agency as needed, depending on the topic. And when we get back the comments, we draft preliminary comments. Some of the proposals do require more coordination. Sometimes there is a need for meetings, and then we draft the letter and share it with the experts again if needed, and then we send the comments after internal alignment to USP. As we mentioned before, there is the subject matter experts who participate as government liaisons. So this slide is basically explaining how they tie into the PF review and comment process. They would have typically seen it at the committee level while during development and would have provided some feedback, but then the more detailed feedback and distributing to all the impacted offices within CDER happens when the proposal is published in PF. So when we send back comments, then USP evaluates the comments from FDA and all other comments they have received, and then they for monographs they would typically reach out to more manufacturers to gather information and then propose further changes to what was previously proposed based on the new information they have received, and they can send it back to COSS for further feedback, or they can finalize the monograph proposals through the expert committee. And the government liaisons also participate in this process by elaborating further on FDA comments during ballot discussion. And this is typically what happens for USP monographs for drug substances or drug products. Even though FDA has a well-developed process for reviewing the USP monograph proposals, unfortunately, we are unable to disclose specific information necessary to revise the monographs to USP because any specifications, impurity names, etc. are considered company confidential information and trade secret, and such information must come from the applicant DMF holder, drug product manufacturer to USP. And it is also not practical for FDA to review information in each application or DMF while performing review of a monograph, because some monographs may have sometimes more than 50 applications or many DMFs associated with them. So it's not really FDA's role to dig into each and every application to find out. So our process employs sampling of applications to perform the review, and we really can only indicate to USP where the problem is, what needs to be changed, or that something might be missing and the test needs to be updated, and we typically recommend USP to contact approved manufacturers to get such information. USP monograph standards are definitely of importance to FDA as well as to industry, because they are not only applicable to approved applications but significantly impact the review of a pending application which is undergoing review at FDA. And having a good monograph standard can improve efficiency and provide information for product development, such as information such as impurity profile, analytical procedures, acceptance criteria, etc. Also, when firms follow USP method and acceptance criteria, method verification or demonstration of suitability of use is generally acceptable as opposed to a full-scale validation. And if the monographs are outdated or have incorrect information, they impede efficiency and can be misleading to firms during product development, because you may think that it's acceptable to FDA because it's in the USP, and then if it turns out not to be the case, it could cause delays in approval of your application, leading to more review cycles. So even though FDA does our job of reviewing the PF proposals and providing comments to USP, they're not specific enough. And USP does receive some comments from the industry, but it is not adequate for them to fix all the issues or address all of FDA comments. So one potential solution is that applicants, DMF holders, and manufacturers should have a robust process for reviewing and commenting on USP PF monograph proposals, mainly to ensure that you are in compliance with the proposal, first of all, and if it is missing any key quality information, you are encouraged to provide that to USP, and also consider your data while commenting. This is something we have observed. If you can meet the proposed criteria, there is no need to petition USP for wider acceptance criteria, because with some of the monograph modernization efforts, we are moving to better methods, and the acceptance criteria is suitable for those methods. So if you are able to meet it, just because you may historically have a wider acceptance criteria, there is no need to petition. You can rather update your own acceptance criteria on in your file with FDA. And also contributing to improved analytical procedures helps USP monographs stay up to date, so they are beneficial to public health. I would like to take this opportunity to spend a few minutes on the pending monograph process. This is a special process and is not necessarily always related to the typical PF process, and this process was designed specifically to address any discrepancy or compliance issue with the existing monograph, but you are proposing something different in an application that is undergoing review at FDA. So traditionally what happened was, when there is a USP monograph and the FDA has received an application which does not comply with the USP monograph, and for whatever reason they have some different quality criteria, and then USP could not revise the monograph because application has not yet been approved by FDA, and FDA cannot approve the application because it does not comply with the USP monograph, and this resulted in delayed approvals for 505(b)(2) NDAs or for ANDAs. Pending monograph process has been developed to address any non-conformance issues with an official USP-NF monograph for an application which is undergoing review at FDA. For ANDAs, USP accepts pending monograph requests upon completion of the filing review and would like applicants to start the process well in advance of the application due date. According to this process, the FDA review process will continue as usual, and it has nothing to do with your submission to USP. However, it allows USP to start processing the revision, and they will publish a notice of intent to revise on their website, which is different from the USP-NF process. So this notice will remain on the USP's public website. If the application is amended during the review process, it is the manufacturer or applicant's responsibility to inform USP of changes needed to the notice of intent to revise. At the time of approval, the notice of intent to revise should be consistent with what's being proposed in your original application or supplement. Please note that the PMP request should be submitted to the designated USP email and not to the general revisions or donations email, and should be flagged as a pending monograph request for making sure that it gets to the right POC and also gets processed in a timely manner, avoiding any delays. The revision that's being proposed in the notice of intent to revise moving to official status is contingent upon FDA approval of that particular application or supplement where the change published in the NITR or the Notice of Intent to Revise is proposed. Basically, only after FDA approves that particular change, then that text will be moved without any further delay into the official compendium. There are many advantages of maintaining up-to-date USP-NF standards, and the industry plays an important role in the process by providing the necessary information to maintain these standards. Modern USP monograph standards can potentially provide a public standard that's developed through a process that is open and provides for broad stakeholder input. It's also a minimum legal standard for a drug substance, drug product, and excipient, and which provides standardized quality and purity requirements for drug products across manufacturers and equalized standardized quality and purity requirements between over-the-counter drug products and prescription drug products. And as far as FDA is concerned, they are effective tools that can be used in FDA review and enforcement activities. I would like to close this presentation by mentioning a few of the key points. Manufacturers are responsible for compliance with applicable USP requirements throughout product lifecycle, and engaging with USP in the review and comment on USP proposals is an essential step. There may not have been a monograph when your application was approved, but it is, however, your responsibility to follow any new monograph proposals that impact your approved product and provide comments to USP proposals based on what you have been approved with, and providing them the information needed to update the monograph or revise appropriately. From FDA's side, we have also updated our approval letter templates for NDAs and ANDAs and quality supplements, which now include language regarding USP compliance, just as a reminder. And we have also talked about in this presentation the information challenges that FDA cannot share any specific information such as impurity names or acceptance criteria, limits, etc., which are needed to develop and update monographs. And we also talked about the pending monograph process and how it is different from the regular revision process, when to use it, and the necessity for flagging it as a pending monograph request when that is the intent. Here are some helpful resources for your reference. Thank you so much for your attention. I'll be glad to take any questions after all the presentations.